Hey, welcome to the Broken for Better podcast.
We're a nonprofit organization with the purpose of equipping your marriage and strengthening your family so that your tomorrow can be better than your today.
Enjoy the episode.
All right, welcome back. We are excited. Week 3 of Balancing Life.
Right.
We are super blessed tonight, and we are excited for this episode.
Yes.
We have our dear friends,
Absolutely.
Gabe and Kathy Roche. Let's go.
Hello, guys.
Man, it is super special. It's a long time coming. They've been waiting to get behind the camera this whole time.
Yes.
Yes.
Finally.
What?
I had to schedule myself in.
Yes, you did.
For those that you don't know, Kathy is our assistant and business manager, locks it all down, keeps us in line. So it is an honor and a privilege to have you here in this role tonight.
Yes.
Yeah.
We want to talk. We have obviously walked life now for years together, and we have been along a journey with you. And so when we thought about this series of Balancing Life, yours name's popped up in this one series, and that's Balancing Life with Aging Parents. And we know that this is something that you guys are moving through, walking through. And so tonight we just kind of wanted to get real because we know that's a season that a lot of people are walking into, whether it's healthy aging parents, whether it's aging parents that are going through mental things or physical things. And so we just kind of want to get real and raw tonight. So start us off by just letting everybody know who's Gabe and Kathy. You tell us a little bit about how we got here.
Who is Gabe and Kathy? Well, Gabe and Kathy Roche are a happily married couple. I'm going to be celebrating 28 years in December.
Hey, let's go.
And in the month of March, we'll be 30 years together knowing each other. So, and we are so blessed. We have 3 amazing young men in the house, 15, 18, and 22, and watching God do things in their lives. And it's just, it's been an amazing journey. And then about 5 years ago, we, I don't want to say adopted, but we took in an 80-year-old man into our house, known as her dad. So now we're a family of 6 plus 2 dogs.
Yeah.
Wow.
Let's go. Family of 6 and 2 dogs. Now, I remember when he came in because he actually had an apartment. Like, this was a
did.
funny story.
Yeah.
That he had an apartment that he was paying bills on, but he lived at your place.
Yeah, that
He
happened.
would come over every morning.
Yes.
And then he would leave in the evening, then go home to sleep at his apartment, and then eventually just stayed night after night after night, and then wasn't going back to the apartment until like maybe the weekend, and then coming back. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just remember thinking, and I remember asking you, like, wait, is he still paying all the bills? Oh, yeah, he pays all the bills. Like,
And I remember the one time I said, listen, what are you doing? You know, are you ready to? He goes, no, I got to renew my lease. I'm like, you don't need to renew your lease. You're here all the time.
Yeah.
I think it's time to, because I don't know. I have, because he had his house, the apartment was filled with furniture still, as if he was there all the time.
two-bedroom.
It was a 2-bedroom apartment.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, Lord,
Well kept.
you
Yeah.
need to do something here
Yeah.
because he needs to know it's time to come 100% at our house.
But it was that piece of independence for him, right?
For sure.
He didn't
For
want
sure.
to-
And it wasn't until he
fully-
had he went through that major surgery when he was diagnosed with cancer in 2021.
Yeah.
That he like fully moved in, turned in his apartment, like all that, you know, like it's kind of sealed the deal, if you will.
Yeah.
That's when it became, you know, but that was more so.
with me because I had a moment and that time I was like, you know, Kathy, I think it's just time that the Lord is just messing with me. And I think it's time for him to just live here permanently. Like,
wait,
Lord
so
has-
as a spouse,
yeah,
you were the one that brought up, like, hey, I think it's...
Yeah.
yeah.
He heard it first, and I was like, "Are you sure? Like,
And I was like,
you weren't raised by him. Are you sure?"
and that's the thing. It's like when it's, and the only reason why I knew it had to be done is because if I didn't, I'd be in disobedience.
Wow.
And it's hard pill to swallow because I've seen the life that she's lived and I know her story from before we were together. And I'm like, I'm bringing him in, you know, but this is because God has put this heaviness on my heart that it says, hey, it's time to bring him in. It's time for us to care for him, even though he's very independent at that time.
Yeah, he was still driving and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So at that time, he was still driving. He's independent. He had the cancer diagnosis and walks through all of that and the healing and all that. and then kind of fast forward us to like then what you've seen. So you're obedient and bringing him into your home, welcoming him in, changing the entire structure of how family life is lived day to day, day in, day out. And then fast forward us to like then what ended up happening over after that obedience step. What have you guys seen progressed, you know?
All been great, right? Rainbows and butterflies, and we brought him in. It was
Amazing.
exactly right.
It's like we won the
No.
lottery.
No.
No.
We quickly had to do like just kind of like a roommate kind of thing. Like, great that you're here, but this is how we do life, you
Yeah.
know? Like, many times it was like, you know, and I get it, but just thinking like you know, like he was like, well, no, I think the jug should go here, and I was like, no, I put the jug here. And he's like, but the jug should go here, and I was like, how do I tell my parent this is my house, you know, even though I was raised in that way, but knowing that that's not the kind way to respond. So it was a lot of like knowing how to have conversations, knowing when to have conversations. So a lot of that happened. Very painful, lots of hard nights, lots of times when he would still want to treat me like a little girl. And then he
I'd
would
have
come in.
to step in and remind him, listen, this is my wife. You're in our home, but you need to respect. And there are things you want to put in place, and I understand this is your daughter and you love her to death, but she's married to me. Because there was a moment, and I laugh because one of the first times in our apartment where we first moved, he came to the house unexpected, just on a weekend. We're like, what are you doing here? And he just looked at me, oh, I'm just coming over. I said, no, you just can't come over. Because I think it was to the point where it's like, I just got to be here. I said, no, you need to respect that this is our home. I don't mind that you come over, but just give us a heads up. That was it. And he didn't talk to me for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm curious a little bit on some of this because growing up, and we won't go through all childhood,
No.
but did you?
She says no.
What was
Not that kind of stuff.
what like when you had the jug issue? Was that replays of old movies you saw growing up?
Absolutely, because it was partly Spanish culture and also partly he was born in 1938. So, like, you know, the mindsets of society and culture were completely different. And so, you know, so it was like what he says or said went. So it was non-negotiable. It wasn't.
Wow.
Yeah. So having been brought up that way, and then now it's like our home, and I didn't marry into that. I married a man who respects me and honors me, and we both communicate and we both share our opinions. And so that's all I've lived for 20 plus years. And so then now that is now entered the home, and it's like, no, you know?
And there's been hard conversations in that perspective with him. And as time entails and time goes by, you're hoping, oh, he's gonna get it, and we're hit with a curveball.
Yeah.
You know, couple years now, it's been now 6 months, 8 months.
6 months.
He was officially diagnosed. We say officially because kind of had a sense of it. He was officially diagnosed with dementia, Alzheimer's, and it says it totally changes your mindset because now you think, wait a minute. So he's acting this way because maybe he's forgetting, and he's forgetting because he has a disease. And we're like, well, now this is a whole different take now on this man that I've known for 30 years, almost 30 years. And now I'm like, okay, God, what are we doing? And we look at each other, and I believe this is where the Lord has really intervened 100% because we're at a place where we're balancing each other out. There'll be days she'll give me the look. She's like, I'm done. This is it. What is going on? She's flipping her lid. I'm like, babe, it's a season, and we're going to get through this. It'll pass.
It's just a season.
Just a season.
Just a season.
And then there'll be days where I'm flipping my lid. I'm like, what is wrong with him? Who does he think he is? Did he forget we brought him in? And then she'll give me the look.
It's just a season.
So you mean those emotions are normal? They're not. Those emotions are normal for the
Yeah.
person that's watching this
Yeah.
to feel like, you know, sometimes we can get so so caught up in our season that we feel like we're the only ones walking through it,
Absolutely.
and preparing to have y'all come on and talk about, walking through this season of having an aging parent in your home. I was blown away that the stats are like 80% of the people that have been diagnosed with Alzheimer's are being cared for in the home of a loved one.
Mm-hmm.
It said last year annually, 16 million Americans provided over 17 billion hours of unpaid health care for an aging parent. And so that means there's a lot of people out there that have a very similar, maybe drastically different relationship or different, geographically, whatever, but it's very similar scenario to what you guys are walking through at this stage in your marriage, right? Because when we bring people into our home, it affects not only the spouse, but it affects our children. It affects our entire, entire environment. And so when you look at that, what are some of the things that you could say, man, this I can say has been a blessing, or this I have to hold on to, knowing this is something that gives me, encouragement, even when it's the hard days.
To you.
Yeah. So that's a really tough question because so Alzheimer's isn't a blessing, right? I remember him having like all these different cancers and diseases and what have you, and I remember praying like, okay, whatever you do, God, don't touch his mind. That's all I ask. Is just don't touch his mind. And he did, and so it's been very difficult to say this is a blessing or, whatever, but obviously looking at like, okay, what can we be thankful for? And just to be completely transparent and vulnerable, there are days where I'm like, if one more person tells me it's such a blessing to be able to take care of your parent.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm gonna go Peter on them, like, it's very.
She means the Bible character.
That was actually the most country hillbilly I've ever heard you talk.
Because I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's like,
it's such a blessing.
Yeah.
To have. I'm like,
go Peter on you.
It's just such an honor to be able to take care of your parents, and it's okay. And so and I know it is. I know in the big picture, it is a blessing. And I know that God in his sovereign way has looked at us and said, you can do this through me and what have you.
Yeah.
But then there's days where I'm like, why? I think for me personally, as a woman, the blessing has been, it's just taught me how much more I need of God. Like that has been my blessing out of all of this. I've had to also heal a lot from my childhood, seeing a lot of things that I didn't think that were a big deal. And then I think the other part is, this just happened yesterday, is the kids are watching. And they're seeing that you can be resilient in the hardest of times. And hopefully that they see that we're leaning on God through all this.
Yeah.
So.
We just, a couple of weeks ago, we had a couple on with a special needs child. And it's interesting to me that some of the things that they voiced in their special needs child, you are dealing with an aging adult. The same struggles, the same things. And it's interesting. I think many times, a lot of us who don't have that, that's something that we don't know that world.
Right.
And so we don't get in it and we don't battle it because it's new to us and it's a foreign concept to us. Tell me something, because I remember there was a time, I want to bring this up a little bit. So there was a time that I came over. We had to pick something up, and I think
Did we send a release or something?
No, I know what he's
Did
going
we send a
to
release?
Yeah. We had to pick something up. It must have been. It had to have been like 2 a.m. It might have been 10:45, but it was around 10:45, and I remember us pulling up, and Pops is out on the front sidewalk watering the grass, like watering the bushes.
We missed the sign.
And I thought we missed the sign. I remember telling that. they make this man water the bushes at 10:45 at night. And so I remember I was like, how you doing, Pops? And he doesn't speak really a whole lot of English and didn't know what the heck I was doing there at 10:30 at night. So he just kind of waved and moved on. And I remember going like, hey, what are y'all doing? And we just laughed and laughed. In moments like this, I know there's a lot of hard times, but can you tell me just a story or two that you're like, okay, this was actually pretty funny. When we got to like, when we really walked this thing out and looked at this, it was pretty funny that he did this or said this and this walked out. Because there has to be moments where you sit back and laugh at each other too, going, wow, this is crazy.
So, okay, so first of all, y'all came to my house at 10:30 at night to
Yes.
deliver me a blizzard from Dairy Queen because it was National Admin Day or something
us.
like that. So I will never forget that. Okay.
Yeah, speaking of blizzards, I could go for blizzards.
Yeah,
Wow.
we could just eat one now. So I think the funniest parts are when he is having good days
Oh my gosh.
and he just he just brings like a lot of like joy because
He's
he's
giddy.
having a good day and
He's
he's giddy.
giddy.
Yeah, the boys will
He's
say,
giddy.
"Well,
Really?
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
so we call him Tata, and so they'll say, "Oh, Tata took happy pills. Everybody's in a good mood now."
He's great.
You know,
He'll have those days where I'm like, so everything's good with the games? He's like, I'm like, okay, I'm like, really? That's all he'll do. I'm like, what is he doing?
yeah,
And then we'll walk out and he's still humming something from somewhere. And then he just gives us stories that from TV shows that he's watching. We're like, oh, wow, okay, yeah. We're like, what is he talking about?
yeah,
And it just leaves us in moments where, yeah, we do. We have those days. We're laughing at those moments and memories because it's something that's coming out of him, you know?
Yeah.
And then we have the opposite.
Yeah, so walk that, because that's a very interesting concept, even hearing that, and even for your boys to see that as well. Like you have these moments where Tata's this guy, like, oh, listen, and then in a moment that can flip.
Yeah.
So how do we navigate those waters in your home, like with your boys, to go for them to understand, wow, this is just the grace that we have to show, or how did you guys navigate that? Because that's got to be a very interesting world.
yeah.
That's a
So,
good word.
yeah, it's a good question. So, I think because he's had so many different illnesses, and I think because of how
Yeah.
we are in our communication and my personality, just putting the cards on the table. So when this diagnosis came about, I first processed it with Gabe, and then we got the boys together and we just told them, we said, this is what his diagnosis is. And I said, there's obviously signs that were happening. And so, these are parameters basically, like, okay, this is what is going to probably happen. This is what we have to kind of look out for. This is what we have to be mindful of.
We have to be attentive to things that he's doing, to what he's not doing. Don't expect the normal grandfather that you've seen over the years. Things will change. Conversations may be different. He'll just do things out of the ordinary. And the one thing that we all 5 have made it very clear between us is, guys, whatever you hear from him or see be done, do not take it personal.
Yeah. And we have to constantly remind ourselves and
Over.
each other of that. Like, don't take that personal. Like, he didn't mean that, or
Yeah,
it's okay.
It's just that's where he's at. And one of the things that we've learned and been reading and over time, and we've been very, very fortunate with resources that we've been able to obtain, is we're finding out that, narcissism is a big thing in dementia patients and Alzheimer's.
It mimics
It
it.
mimics it. It's crazy. It's like, wait. And it's something that we've had to swallow and understand and be like, okay, so it's not that it's the normal guy that he was or is, but this is what it's causing him to be right now. And in that moment, you have to sit back and say, okay, this is not my father-in-law from 10 years ago.
Yeah.
This is a new mindset of a father-in-law that I have today. And those are the things that we have to go back and forth on and say, okay, God, you need to show us what we have to think and what we see and what we hear when he's speaking, when we're speaking. Like, I have caught myself so many times in conversations with him of not being so, tried to avoid sarcasm. Because sometimes sarcasm will work. 99% of the time, it's not working.
Right.
Because he's like, I'll make us. I was like, I was just kidding. And she'll tell me, babe, da 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 da. I was like, you know what? All right,
Wow.
that was on
Yeah.
me. And you forget other conversations 10 years ago, same sarcasm, we'd be laughing it off like crazy.
Yeah, one of the hurdles that that I read about, because obviously this isn't our
You
story.
have become like a statistician.
I know.
Every week she comes with some
Sorry.
amazing stats.
Because I'm trying to do my research.
I'm so proud of you. I'm like, wow,
Keep
you're like
it
an
up.
almanac. Wait,
Put that on your
Almanac,
resume.
That's the weather.
you're not like
I mean,
an almanac.
I'm not like
You're
an
like an
almanac.
An
encyclopedia.
encyclopedia.
Anyways,
Better
what
than
I was
Wikipedia.
saying was
Better than Google.
one of the articles I was reading was talking about when you have an aging parent in the home, as a couple, right? A married couple that's walking through it together. Like, if you don't process it well, first off, the numbers are so like they're horrendous when it comes to like just fighting for your marriage. But not only that, like the issues with depression and anxiety and all of that can weigh on either of you. And so when you look at that as a couple, obviously you've already shared some hurdles. There's hurdles there. For maybe the person that's watching that has the same scenario, what are you guys doing, or how are you trying to fight those hurdles to actually be on the same page? Because you have good days, you have bad days, no one's perfect, but how are you fighting for your marriage in this season?
Yeah. So I think knowing that, he was diagnosed in the fall, and then obviously like the whole new year coming up and what have you,
Yeah.
we just made not resolutions, but we made goals. So, and I think within those goals, making personal goals so we don't forget who we are as an individual and who we are as a couple and who we are as parents.
Good.
And so, like for me, I, decided, okay, I'm doing like a mastermind class, something that caters to just me as a woman, and then he's gone back to school to finish his bachelor's in theology. So it's like, that has really been helpful to, because A, you're investing money into these things, and so and B, it's forcing you basically to make time for just yourself, so that's one thing that we've done.
Yeah. I think another thing that we've also done is to be intentional with our boys.
Yeah.
Is we find those one-on-ones. We separate ourselves and anything that we can do. Because if we don't, they're gonna see, well, they're too busy with grandpa. We know he's in a situation. It's okay. That is probably a number one excuse to put your kids to the side. If anything, the same way, if we're gonna put that much emphasis on ourselves for a better marriage, that means we have to make another emphasis of ourselves to make better parents and parenting with our boys. So that's been a blessing to see that one-on-one in between all of us. And it's funny because like we'll have these days where with one of them, I was like, I can't deal with them, you deal with them. And then it's like, I can't deal with them, you deal with them. And this time over time, we just start to see, and I think there was something I always remember. You told me this years ago. It says, Gabe, remember, you have 6 set of eyes watching you every time. And I'm like, okay, fine. And I've had to learn that, and now learning that, and what we're going through, we're watching our boys watching us. And what's been incredible is when we're having those down days and stuff like that. I think the best story was with Asa just recently with you.
Yeah, it was a rough morning, like really, really rough morning. And I'm driving Asa and Levi to school, and then we dropped off Levi, and Asa looks over at me and he says, "You're not going to put him in a nursing home, are you?"
Wow.
And I just realized, I was like, he's watching, but he's also seeing his mother, right? Like,
Wow.
have battle and not have good days. And that just really struck me, because I was like, and I looked at him and I said, we will do everything possible to not put him in a nursing home. And we pray that we don't have to get to that day. But I can't promise you that. Because he was like, promise me. I was like, I can't promise you. Yeah. And it was hard. It's hard to do that. And so to go back to that question, aside from ourselves, also being more intentional of like, because I have to schedule all the doctor's appointments and all the procedures, right? So I look at the school calendar and I'm like, when is spring break? And I try the very ultimate best to not touch that week with appointments and procedures and stuff, like,
Yeah.
because I can kind of move dates around if I want to, you know?
The same with
And
the
then
holidays.
the holiday weeks and things like that. So those are like little things here and there of trying to be intentional with them. And then also, like, we have to, you know, have our own little
We have our
powwows on
dates.
the lanai or in our bedroom
Yeah.
where, you know, he's had to learn to, you can't fix the situation. So
Yeah.
he's literally, like, just last week, no, 2
La-
weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, where there was a situation that in the past I'd get up and I'd go fix it, because that's what we do. That's what men do. We go fix stuff. So I would get up and go in and intervene and say, "What are you doing?" And just knowing where your healthiness is with God in your walk. I sat there and I'm hearing this conversation. I'm like clenching my fist, holding my legs down, and say, "Don't move. She needs to deal with this. It's for her, and I know she'll get through it." And I'll never forget that when it was all done and we go to the room, she just looks at me and she tells me, "Gabe, thank you for giving me my space."
It was so amazing,
And I was
because
like,
in the past he would, like, you know, you can't talk to her like that, or, you know what, it was whatever, and I was like, don't, you know,
Or
I need
even-
you to fix this, you know, and I
Yeah.
was
Then y'all start fighting.
yeah, and then
Yeah,
we're fighting.
yeah, because there've been
Right?
times where I'll walk into the room, even in recent months, where I'll walk into him like, "Hey, what's going on here? He needs to stop, right?"
Yeah, and I'm like, I got this.
yeah,
And so it would definitely cause a lot of, like,
Friction.
arguments and friction, whatever.
we call it
arguments.
friction. No, friction,
Fights.
friction.
And so
So
and-
much nicer.
so
Friction.
and so, but it was 2 weeks ago that
Yeah,
Dad and I were done, and, you know, he was whatever, bad night, and I walked out. You were in the dining room.
I was in the dining
I
room.
went and I got ready for bed, and literally we're getting ready. Now we're both in the room at this point, and I just looked over at him and I said, "Thank you for giving me my space." That wouldn't have happened before.
Yeah,
You know, I commend you and like really honor you that you would take the time to think, because for a guy, like, that speaks volumes to hear our wives go,
Yeah.
"Hey, well done." You know, even in something that we feel like we could have stepped in and we didn't, it speaks volumes. So, you know, I'm sure he said it, but from one guy, I like, thank you. That's awesome. Tell me, and I love hearing the wins. Was there a time, and that's one that you were like, "Hey, Gabe, well done." Is there a time that you both looked at each other, that something happened and you both looked at each other and were like, "We're killing it. Like, we did a heck of a job right there. Well done." You know, because I feel, and this is why I asked the question, I feel like there's many out there that when you have these conversations and they deal with this over and over and over again, you begin to wonder, like, am I even doing this right? Is it even worth it? You know what I mean? And if you're doing it by yourself and not together, it can be even more isolating, you know? And so is there a time that because what I'd like for couples to see is, like, rejoice even in the small things. Like, this is a thing, we said the right thing or we did the right thing. And man, we just looked at it like we are killing this adult babysitting game.
okay, I'll go with that. I guess one of the things I know I can think right away is the moments where we'll both walk out of a conversation with him and things, and we'll both grab his medicines. We'll sit down at the dining room table. We'll get his meds put together, and we're going, "Well, he needs this too. Wow, my gosh!" And we're just talking it through and conversing, and we say, "You know what?" And we'll just say comments to one another, just the little things, and you know. And what I've learned in probably in the last 2-3 years in life is I've understood how immeasurable God is. And so when I see a win is a win.
Amen.
I don't ever want to see that, "Oh, we barely made it over. Oh, we were way over the top on this one." I think God has just put me at a place to just say, "You know what, babe? We did it. It was okay.
Yeah.
We made it past this,
Yeah.
and we made another step forward." And it just comes to those moments because you want to be sure that, "Hey, God, am I doing this right with her? Am I being, or am I just trying to please her?" And because if I'm doing it to please her, please stop me. And I've realized, and I go back 5 years ago and say, "No, you we're obedient. And because I still move in this process, that means I'm still in obedience. And so for that, I'm like, okay, God. So then us sitting here at the dining room table putting his meds together is a win. Because we're not arguing. We're
Man,
not
and
we're not having friction.
That to me,
Yeah.
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I don't think many would see that as a marital win.
Mm.
No, we're just doing an assignment. We got to do this, and and so the fact that the perception can be,
Yeah.
no, this is a win for our marriage that we are spending time together in this. That's what I hope couples hear out of this. Like, this is bigger than what you think.
Yeah, it all goes back to that mentality of we're on the same team.
Yeah.
100%.
And, I honor the two of you because if anything, I've seen you guys walking through the last few years. And I know that everything has it's gotten a lot more heavy here recently because of the diagnosis and because of how quickly things have progressed. But it's like watching you two fight to be on the same team.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean things are perfect.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean things don't get out of balance. Like the balance is finding the commonality, finding the things to fight for together. And I think so often we get it, we get it misconstrued that we have to get it perfect. We have to get it right. We don't want to mess it up. But even, watching you guys fighting to have the balance of not only your family, but your marriage, realizing this might be different, but it doesn't have to drastically suffer because we're going to fight for it.
Right.
And we want to make sure that we don't wait till this season's done to enjoy our kids or wait till this season's done to enjoy each other.
Yeah.
Because I think there's an enjoyment God wants you to have
Yeah.
while you walk through the hard things.
Right. Yeah.
How do you still date? Like, how is dating? And
actually
here's
a
what's
really
funny.
good
Like,
question.
we know a lot. And we don't talk about this all the time, but I know you have home health care. I know, like, there's a lot to make something happen.
Yeah.
Date nights, is that regular for y'all? Has it gone by the wayside? Have y'all not dated in 3 years or what?
No. God, no. No. That is one thing that we press so hard not to lose.
Okay.
And we're like, whatever we can do to find ourselves together, not talking about the kids, not worrying about grandpa in the conversations. We're like, okay, so what are you doing? There'll be some Saturday mornings I'll wake up and say, you know what, babe? I'm going to make us breakfast, make us some fresh ground coffee, and we're going to sit on the lanai because the Lord provided this amazing lanai for us with a view.
We can't second that. That is a gorgeous thing.
And we can go out there and just have just some you and me time.
Yeah.
And we'll have those moments, and it's amazing. And then we have been able to go out and go to dinner and step away for a few hours because of our boys.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
one of the things I know, and I told Kathy this earlier. I said, Kathy, I think about those things, and I look at our 22-year-old, who's in college, who's working, who's living his life and doing this and that, and I'm like, I don't want to interrupt that. I don't want to tell him, hey, you have to be a part of this because he's your grandpa. No. And God has always shown us, and one of the first questions we always ask him, so, hey, buddy, what's your weekend look like? I got this going on. And he goes, do I need to stop something so I can take care of it? Said, no. If you are doing stuff, you are doing stuff. We got it. I just need to know what your schedule's like. Even with the other two. It's like, you guys, not so much Levi. He doesn't do anything.
That's God.
Just kidding.
Hey, Levi, what's your weekend? Doesn't matter. This is what you're doing.
Hey, probably not wrong. Anyway, no. But we're able to understand and respect what our boys need to live. They need to live as much as they can. And so God just puts that heaviness on us and say, okay, we're asking to step out for a couple hours. Do you think, yeah, we got you, Mom, Dad, no worries. I got nothing planned. I got to study anyway, so I'll do that. That's what we'll hear. And
But I think for you, that's been easier than for me because I've had to push through a lot of guilt of, well, it's two guilts. So the first one, as a mom, I'm asking my kids to carry a load that they didn't ask for. And because it's a second down kind of hand, whatever guilt, right? Because that's not their parent, that's their grandparent. And then I had to fight through that. And then the other one I fight through is I'm leaving. So when I leave, like, what is it going to be like? Like when we sent him for the summer to my brother's, last year, and I was like, I'm so proud of myself. I did it. I released him. And it was so great. And then he fell and he ended up in the hospital. And it was just kind of like, what did I do? And I remember we were in Orlando and I literally had to take myself to the bathroom by myself and just think, I did the right thing. I should be here. I should be with my family. I should be with my family. There's a lot of guilt pushing back that I have to do to get us to that point. So yeah, so we've had to become creative as sitting in the lanai and having a coffee or watching a movie and okay, like he's gonna go to bed and I'm just gonna trust that nothing's gonna happen because I know I need to be with my husband tonight, and so we're just gonna trust that everything's gonna be great.
Yeah.
It's a lot of mind game too of knowing like I have to be present for my husband, and also knowing that I don't have to carry a guilt of putting, other things first or what have
It's
you.
wild because you think about, as we coach young couples with young kids, we often find ourselves coaching them. Listen, it's important for your kids to see what's important, and that's putting your marriage. And then here you guys are on the other side of, of an aging parent, totally opposite dynamic, and you're still having to encourage yourself and coaching yourself by saying it's okay. Like you have to fight that guilt, I think, all along.
Yeah.
And I think when you're a young
Oh, yeah.
parent, you think, oh, one day I'll get over this guilt.
Yeah.
But it just it continually, it's something we have to fight as
Yeah.
moms,
Yeah.
and as some dads too. But I think as a mom, I've always been having to fight the guilt. Am I doing enough? Am I being
Yeah.
present enough? Am I,
Yeah.
it's a constant. And
It is.
I think that's normal. And I think it's good for people to realize that that's a normal feeling that we have to push against.
Yeah, 100%. Because in that same perspective, for me, it's like it's a direct line because it's her father,
Yeah.
it's her dad, and I'm pulling her away from her dad where he's at, and it's like, and I have to think, am I being selfish? Is she okay? And it's just and I think the one thing that we always make very clear to one another is that, are we communicating
Yeah.
where we are at?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I can just do something and be like, smile and wave and I'll be okay. And in the back of her mind is probably going, what in the world is he doing?
Yeah. Well, there was a time last year, it was even before the diagnosis, that we were just having a rough time with him. And I remember Gabe came in the room, we came in the room, and
I did, yeah.
and I was just sitting there and I was just crying and I was so angry. And he's like, what's going on? And I said, you don't deserve this. And I said, he's like, what are you talking about? And I was just like,
It's like,
you don't deserve this. Like you don't deserve to have married someone that has to carry the load of her father. And that was a very painful day, because I, somewhere along the way, picked up this lie that he was stuck with this, and I had been holding on to that for so long. And obviously he was like, began to speak truth.
Wow.
And it was probably what kind of set us free from all the things that could have gone wrong, especially now with this diagnosis, why our communication has gotten better, why we do like those, kind of pulse checks. I call them pulse checks in life, of like, he's like, are you okay? Are you struggling? Are you, like those kind of things to help me make sure I'm not going the other way in my head and then thinking, this is horrible, we're never going to get it, and there's times at night he'll say,
I'll
how
look
are
at her.
you? And I'm like, I'm not good today. And I'll start crying. I'm like, I feel like this is forever. And he's like, but you know that it's not, so like he was saying earlier, like we just have those days where, he may feel the same way, and then and I'm like, no, it's okay. It's a season.
Yeah,
It's okay.
because I'll have the days of moments of thinking, my gosh, we should be going out of town. It's our 25th wedding anniversary. We
did make it out of town.
Oh, did we make it out of town?
We did.
We have
The
that
Lord sent one of my
originally.
sisters.
Yeah, originally it was supposed to be out of the country, but COVID, and so we couldn't travel. So we're like, okay, but we got to find something. And praise God for her sister. That just felt to come at that moment for our 25 years. But from that moment, since then, that's not 2.5 years later, the progression of us growing it's just gotten better. And one of the things is because I'm constantly remembering, okay, God, I'm in obedience. I'm in obedience. I'm in obedience. And when that day that she told me that, 100 million things in a man's head goes, you're probably right. I don't deserve this. So what should I do? Any other person would have said, deuces. But I knew if I thought that way, even acted that way, I'm in complete disobedience. And if anyone knows, there isn't good with disobedience. I don't want to be walking in disobedience. And
I would hunt you down and make you come back.
do you see what I mean?
What I love is it's not, and I think this is very key, that you continue to stand on the fact I'm walking in obedience. The easier route is to say maybe I misheard. You understand? And so it's man, like I just honor you and commend you for going, no, I know what I heard. And in my hardest of days, I stand on what I heard versus in my hardest of days, no, I misheard, deuces. And as we land this thing, I want to go back to something that you said earlier, because when you said it, it triggered in me, and it really is, I want you to hear me say this. That moment that Asa says, obviously it's a hard day, right? Hey, you're not going to put him in a home, are you? I think that exemplifies, he in that moment is saying, even in the hardest of days, we love him. And you have exampled that over and over again. So on this hard day, we're not going to call it quits, are we? And for a young child to see that exampled by his parents and then be able to go, I know how much this is costing us, and I still want to make sure, like, hey, we're not going to do this, are we? I think it's bigger than what you said, and I want you to hear me say, like, job well done. And I just think that the word is very clear that God is better than any earthly father. And if I can utter the words, like in my heart, I feel, wow, job well done. I can only imagine what the Heavenly Father does when he looks down at you and just says, oh, I'm so proud of how you walked this thing out.
Yeah.
It's an honor to walk the journey with you. And we laugh and we joke. And I just found out the man had a name German. I didn't even know that, I'm getting emails from German. I don't even know who that is. Pops emails me just on the random, you know what I mean? Like, so it's like we laugh and joke. And I think in that we forget or we don't address enough. And I just want you to know, you do have eyes in the house that watch every move y'all make, but you also have eyes outside the house that are championing and commending every move you make, because we know it's not easy.
Yeah. And now I want to add too, like those hard things that we don't necessarily want to walk through. There's a depth that God is teaching you in this moment, not only for others to see, but for each other to see. Because there's so many times in our dark days that we have all the time that he wants to fix my dark day and I want to fix his. But being able to just be there in each other's presence and say, I know you're having a dark day. I'd do anything in the world to fix it. But I'm here. I'm going to walk it out with you. And I'm just going to be by you. And there's something there. And there, like he said, there is something your boys are seeing and witnessing in that strength that God's giving you right now. Yeah.
We appreciate that. And we appreciate, just the opportunity to just be privileged to do at this moment, because it's a hard road to travel. It's a journey that we're called to. Yeah. And God said, do it. And who are we to say no?
Amen.
Yeah.
Listen, we'll bring the plane down. All I need you to do is commit to me, like, don't let the man water plants past 8:30. I mean, can we just keep the man inside?
We're trying.
Hey, listen, once again, thank you for hanging out with us. Thank you guys.
Thank you
Honestly,
so much.
we love you. And the fact that you would come on and share intimate parts of your lives is big for us.
Yes.
And so makes us love you even more.
Yeah.
Hey, check us out. We look forward to hanging out together again next week.
Yeah.
Once again, we want to say thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. Our true desire is this has brought value to you, your marriage, and or your family. The fact is, we can't do what we do without the support of you. By your liking, subscribing, and sharing this content, it reaches to those that are beyond our reach. Also, we would encourage you, check out our website, brokenforbetter.com. Become a monthly supporter, because by you supporting us, you too are making a difference in marriages.
We want to stay connected with you. So follow us on all the different social media platforms at Broken for Better, because on those different platforms, we're going to be giving tools, we're going to have events, all the different ways that we can stay connected, and we want to be connected.
One of the terms that we've adopted is, if your marriage will visit a fitness center, you too can avoid a trauma center. We truly believe in marriage coaching. It doesn't matter what season of life you're in, whether your marriage is a 10 or whether your marriage is a 1. We offer marriage coaching to take it to another level.
Thank you for joining us.